In our first story, we're going to go all the way back to 1996. That's when Congress passed a law called the Defense of Marriage Act, and President Clinton signed it into law. It has been used as the reason why we shouldn't have a constitutional amendment defining marriage as between a man and a woman. Well, now, the First Circuit Court of Appeals, which sits up in Boston, has ruled that the law is unconstitutional.
And as John Jessup reports, that's just the latest round in the ongoing legal and political battle over marriage.
From state houses to the White House.
It is important for me to go ahead and affirm that I think same-sex couples should be able to get married.
Everyone seems to have an opinion on same-sex marriage, and the ruling from the First Circuit Court of Appeals is only the latest. The heart of the case challenges the Defense of Marriage Act, a 1996 law that defines marriage as between a man and a woman. In a unanimous decision, the three-judge panel declared that the law was unconstitutional, saying DOMA does not formally invalidate same-sex marriages in states that permit them, but its adverse consequences for such a choice are considerable. Those choices include denying same-sex married couples federal benefits, like filing jointly on tax returns. The ruling does not change any of the laws on the books right now, but it does shine the light on the looming battle between the administration, the Congress, and the courts. Last year, the Obama administration announced it would no longer defend DOMA in court. So House Speaker John Boehner has appointed attorneys to argue those cases on behalf of the House's bipartisan legal advisory group.
If he feels so strongly, one, he should take a vote of the full House.
Aubrey Sarvis leads an advocacy group for gays in the military. Service Members Legal Defense Network filed a suit challenging DOMA's constitutionality because it prevents same-sex spouses from receiving military benefits. Sarvis believes Speaker Boehner's legal efforts to intervene will be overruled.
This challenge is reserved to the executive branch of government. It's not reserved to the legislative branch. So the Speaker is losing here on two grounds.
Several other challenges to DOMA are already working their way through the courts and will likely end here, the Supreme Court. But that's still a ways off. So both sides of the debate recognize now is the time to mount the fight.
I call upon every believer, every Christian across the nation to take the biblical stand for marriage.
This group of Christian leaders say they view the president's support of same-sex marriage and the Democrat-controlled Senate's consideration of voting to repeal DOMA as a declaration of political war against marriage, one that could hurt Obama with political constituencies that have historically been on his side, blacks and Latinos.
They are very concerned it could cost him his election.
Fernando Cabrera is a Democrat from the Bronx, serving on the New York City Council. He says Obama and other Democrats need to understand family is at the very core of Latino culture, not political association.
The idea of a father or mother and mother, mommy, papi, the whole idea of that family, I mean, that is the #1 priority for Latino families.
John Jessup, CBN News, Washington.
Well, it shouldn't be a surprise to us. Back in 2008, President Obama ran as part of his platform that he thought the Defense of Marriage Act should be repealed. To now find that the administration says we're not going to defend it shouldn't surprise anybody. So the gig is up, if you will, and the game is rigged, because once the Justice Department says we're no longer going to defend it, and in our opinion the law is unconstitutional, when the First Circuit in Boston rules that it's unconstitutional, there probably will be appeal. How that's going to happen, I don't know. But they probably want the Supreme Court to take it. It's also interesting the grounds that the First Circuit found it unconstitutional. Instead of saying there's a constitutional right to gay marriage, they ruled that DOMA doesn't give any positive benefit to heterosexual couples, and therefore there's nothing really constitutional about it. That's a curious decision, probably brilliant from a legal standpoint. But it makes it somewhat unassailable. This has all been a game over ever since Justice Kennedy wrote that wonderful opinion that said that there's a constitutional right to sodomy. Once you establish that, the rest is sort of history. We'll see. There's still a government by the people, But what it's going to take at this point in time is a constitutional amendment to the U.S. Constitution saying that marriage is between a man and a woman. Wendy Griffith has the rest of our top stories from the CBN Newsroom. Wendy?
Thank you, Gordon. The Republican-controlled House failed to pass a measure that would have banned abortions based on a baby's gender. It needed a two-thirds majority to pass under a special rule. Pro-life lawmakers and organizations blasted President Obama for opposing the ban. The White House said the administration opposes gender discrimination in all forms, but that government should not intrude in medical decisions or private family matters. That statement led one congressman to call President Obama the most pro-abortion president in history.
It is inconceivable to me, and I hope it is to you and to all Americans, that our Nobel Prize-winning president can refuse to protect little girls from the violence of sex selection abortion.
In a country that will fight a war anywhere to protect civil liberties and civil rights and humanity, to be standing here today and to have to be discussing legislation to protect the rights of unborn little girls? Are you kidding me?
Opponents say the bill was an attack on women's reproductive rights. A second video is out showing a Planned Parenthood counselor discussing sex selection abortion with a client. The pro-life group Live Action shot and released the video. The counselor is shown discussing the test to determine the baby's sex. Here's what she says about a sex selection abortion.
I can tell you that, here at Planned Parenthood, we believe that it's not up to us to decide what is a good or bad reason for somebody to decide to terminate a pregnancy.
Live Action says several studies in the past 4 years point to thousands of missing girls in America due to sex selection abortion. Well, a disappointing unemployment report today. The jobless rate actually rose in May to 8.2%, and the U.S. added only 69,000 jobs. That's the lowest in a year. The government also reported that the economy created far fewer jobs in the last 2 months than it originally estimated. The new report could raise fears that the economy is getting weaker again. Well, New Mexico's biggest wildfire in history is getting even bigger, and it's expected to be the first of many such fires across the western U.S. this year. Flames spread in all directions Thursday, fueled by hot and dry weather conditions.
The humidity level right now is at 2%. It's extremely low, and that does not help the firefighters.
We really don't feel comfortable until we get a significant amount of rain, and that's not going to be toward till the end of July.
The fire started 2 weeks ago. Since then, nearly 300 square miles have burned in New Mexico's Gila National Forest. Drought and wind will make it easy for more fires to break out this summer. Agencies in New Mexico, Colorado, and Arizona are bracing for the worst this fire season. Well, another comic book character is going to be betrayed as gay. DC Comics is relaunching one version of the Green Lantern as an openly gay hero. But this isn't the same Green Lantern most comic book fans are familiar with. He's a new version of the character who first appeared back in 1940, and he lives on an Earth which exists in a parallel dimension. Marvel Comics is also featuring a gay character, a member of the X-Men who is marrying another man. About half of adults in America use the internet for religious purposes. Gray Matter Research conducted a poll of more than 1,000 adults in all 50 states. 44% of those surveyed say they use the internet to enhance their faith. That comes by visiting their church website, seeking religious instruction, or simply friending their pastor on Facebook. The survey found evangelicals are more likely to use the internet to strengthen their faith. 91% say they go online for religious purposes. And you can find out more about Gray Matter studies by going to our own website, that's cbn.com. And Gordon, I Google, usually trying to look up scriptures and find out where scriptures are. So I use the internet a lot for, I guess, religious purposes.
Okay, get off Google and get on cbn.com because there's an online searchable Bible there. You'll find that. I also encourage you, and I think all Christians should do this, go through the Foundations of the Faith series. It's up there free. All you have to do is go to cbn.com. Really get grounded in your faith. In these days, the amount of biblical illiteracy within the church, we need to address that. And so if you want to get biblically literate, you can make it a part of your sort of daily life. And if you want, you can read through the Bible in a year. We've got that series, and we also have a verse of the day, so it can just come to you. It can come into your inbox every day, and you can make it part of your day to get to know the Bible.
A Virginia school board has voted to remove a copy of the Ten Commandments from the wall of a public school. A student sued the Giles County School Board over the display at Narrows High School, saying it violates First Amendment rights because it endorses a particular religion. The Roanoke Times reports the school board voted unanimously to replace the display with a page from a history textbook that mentions the Ten Commandments. Operation Blessing and a group of young volunteers served the hungry in California. The students were from a group called Focus One. They took a week-long trip to California and were able to work hand in hand with Operation Blessing, serving hot meals, distributing food, and participating in many outreach programs. During the week, teams helped more than 1,000 struggling families. And you can find out more about Operation Blessing by going to their website. That's ob.org.